then this Operation Smile stuff, I mean, this is really cool. I could get up here and talk about how to raise money, but I think we're pretty D4 at that now. It seems that you just take a team night or a team day that we do all the time and you just tie a charity to it. We could talk about why to raise money, but I think we've already figured that one out too. We're doing it for the kids, we're changing their lives. I think we run better businesses because we do this. I think the millennials that we're recruiting want to make a difference and they want to work with a company that cares about making a difference. But today I thought I'd talk about why you want to be a fundraising player. Okay, let's talk about being a player, right? So the first mission trip went down in May of 2012 to Rio de Janeiro. Vera Quinn, George Papalexandrados, Jimmy Rothermel, Vanessa Castaneda McCaffrey had the opportunity to go there. When asked how it was, they said, whatever happens in Brazil stays in Brazil. And we didn't get any information. I'm just kidding. They had a good time. But the second mission trip, I had an opportunity to be a part of. In March of this year, we went to San Cristobal, Mexico, which is like borderline Guatemalan border. And I went with Shanda Hardy, Jim Segrist, Julie Edmonds, and Katie Casanetti. And I want to share with you guys and we called ourselves the Breakfast Club. I mean, it's not like we came from the same org or something like that. We all came from different backgrounds, and we were just a bunch of misfits that met up in Mexico, and we developed something very special, and these people being my brothers and sisters for life is what it feels like. But I want to share with you some of the Breakfast Club stories that you didn't have an opportunity to read in the Leader magazine because they didn't post this stuff, okay? So when we first arrived, we were debriefed with probably 60 to 80 medical professionals in Mexico. And so there's the 5 of us, and we're obviously not medical people. And then after the debriefing, we all had dinner. And I was sitting next to a lovely lady named Beth, who's a speech pathologist from Virginia, and we're explaining to people who we are, right? So we represented the money. We were the fundraisers, and these people were putting the money to use. And I'm explaining to Beth that we're basically a door-to-door company, and we knock on your door, and we sell services. And she was just blown away in the angriest way you could imagine. And she's like, I can't believe that. You knock on people's door? I mean, they're just so rude, and they're just so, She goes, if you knock on my door, I would have no time of day. I said, listen, it's a very simple pitch that we have for you, Beth. We'd knock on your door and say, I'm sorry, I'm at the wrong address. And we just walk away, and we go to the next one. And we just look for easy ones, right? And so it was really cool. Her and I developed a very special relationship. She was tough, and it showed in the medical practice too. She would teach mothers how to feed their children that couldn't suck on a baby bottle because of the deformities and stuff. And anyway, so didn't read that in the Leader. We had some downtime. I had to teach, because I live in Los Angeles, I had to teach the group survival Spanish. I said, listen, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but anytime you come across somebody that tells you something or asks you a question, just say, it's okay, it's all right, it's okay. It's okay? It's okay, it's all right, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And so, believe it or not, that worked everywhere we went, and the survival Spanish was awesome. Benjamin was the local guy. I coined him the most interesting man in Mexico. He seemed to know everybody, and he was certainly a ladies' man. We had a church experience. We wanted to go into the heart of the jungle and just see how people lived. So they said, okay, go to this church. And as soon as you walk into the church, I was looking for the escape doors because it was a fire hazard. I was convinced the place was going to burn down. There was like straw and grass everywhere on the floor. There's candles lit on the floor that are burning. And I didn't see the BYOC sign on the front of the church that said, bring your own chicken. All these families were bringing their little pet chickens. And you're kind of like, so what the heck is going on here? And I remember standing by Julie. I'm like, Julie, like, watch what's going on. And this lady's got the head of the chicken, and she's like rotating the head. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, no. and she kills the chicken. And so I'm like, I don't think the Pope really knows this goes down here in San Cristobal. Never been to a church like this before. Then we had a chance to play some basketball with the locals, and something tells me that there's a couple young Mexican men today that are describing the legends of this muscular woman named Katie and a man that calls himself Vanilla Mamba that bullied themselves all over the basketball court in Mexico. So our legend lives on. So then when it came time to work, what are we going to do? I mean, we show up at the hospital, which was like interesting. I mean, you had to bring your own toilet paper to the hospital. I mean, it was just weird, right? So again, you're in a different country. You just kind of go with it. And so we get there, and we're at the hospital with no agenda. All we know is we're going to be here for days and days and days. And it was funny because it's like playing seems to be a universal language. Because, they're like, okay, you guys are here for the next 8 hours. And we're like, okay. And all the doctors are working, everybody's screening applicants and all this stuff. I just remember I looked up because I'd been down on the floor wrestling with these little kids, right? And after a while, you don't even see their deformities. And I brought my head up after 3 hours of just playing and stickers, and I was missing my kids, so I was kind of being fulfilled with all these little kids around me. And I noticed our group was on the floor. Everybody was on the floor. And Segrist had stickers all over him, and Shanda had crayons and stuff all over the place. I'm kind of like, wow, we're just like a bunch of children. Here's the Breakfast Club, a bunch of these kids, playing. And we got so attached to these children, we went to the local equivalent of a Walmart. We just kept buying more and more toys. We just couldn't seem to do enough. And we would spend they'd have to kick us out of the hospital as they were making almost like a hotel for the kids. And we'd stay there and we'd just play with them. Even though we couldn't even speak the language, we were just playing. And it was interesting because some of the Operation Smile people, there were some people that had been on 30 missions. Everybody asked us, how many missions have you been on? We're like, well, this is one. Oh yeah, this is my 30th mission trip. I'm like, wow. And they're like, well, who are you Sitcor guys? Because every endorser that's ever showed up for Operation Smile, they show up, they take photos, and then they leave. You guys are hanging out with the kids. You guys can't seem to get enough of these kids. And it was really cool. It was, I looked at the girls, Dr. Edmonds and Dr. Shanda, and Dr. Katie. They were just so loving. These women were doctors or nurses in a previous life. It was awesome. And Jim Segrist and I were basically Beavis and Butthead, having a good time. When the operations went down, you walk in the operating room, it just smelled, anybody's been in surgery, you know what that smell is. It's just, clean. I don't know if that's the smell, but I was nauseous. So as soon as, so you put on all that doctor stuff, and, and they invite you in to come see, I don't know why they invited me in to see this stuff, but it's like, hey, you want to come see the operations, people getting cut. And so I'm standing by the door, and they're like, well, hey, you come a little closer, Jamie. I'm like, listen, I went door to door so I wouldn't have to do this one day, And so as nauseous as I was, it was interesting. On the second day, by day 2, I couldn't get enough of this stuff. It was interesting watching even the doctors, the American doctors. Dr. Mike kind of took me under his wing, and he would describe everything that he was doing, and he'd always say, listen, measure twice, cut once, measure twice, cut once, and he's doing his stuff. And then you hear some Latin music going on in another surgery room, and I walk in, and here's this Peruvian doctor who's literally dancing, and then takes a cut, and then he dances again. I'm like, oh my God. Remind me not to go through surgery in anywhere other than the United States. But at the end of the day, all the kids came out looking great. So it was awesome. And so, the key part was really the relationships. I just want to tell you a couple things about some of these kids. Humberto, as soon as I even mention Humberto, I even get a little shake in my voice, and I know that, I know Katie's here, Julie's here. We just love this little kid. Just the sweetest little guy with young parents. Parents were 18 years of age. They had, on the applications they say, how did you arrive? And most people, I know it sounds like a joke, but most people check the box by donkey is how they arrived, right? And so they had no way of getting back. They had this beautiful little boy. They leave the hospital with a little thing of Tylenol. They're not leaving with painkillers and all the stuff we would have and stuff like that. But little Umberto is just the happiest, just the sweetest little boy. We just fell in love with him. Jose was born, he's playing with a 2.7. That's what's in his pocket. The kid had deformed hands. He had cleft lip. He was born with no ears. But again, this happiest little guy, that as we're playing with him, having a great time, it was just so joyful to see him come out of surgery, happy and looking great. And the one girl that really touched our heart, her name was Maria. Maria was 14, so most of the kids were young. They were toddlers or babies. And Maria came in at the age of 14, and that was only her second time out of the house. The house she lived in was a little mud hut with a aluminum roof. And, just hearing the story, Operation Smile had been trying to pitch the family to get this operation, and the family was skeptical. You're just going to kill our daughter, so we don't want her to go off to, get this operation. So it's just they came in so reserved and so skeptical, and they're looking at everybody there like, what are you doing to our daughter? And again, she went to a church when she was 9, probably the same one we went to, and she, this was her second time out of the house. You can imagine just how shy she was. Whether she was a D, I, S, or C, she was an introvert, to say the least, because she just wasn't around people. And I'm telling you, when she came out of surgery, she was beautiful. I just looked at her, I'm like, you're going to make a beautiful wife one day for somebody. You're going to go back to your village. She's a stunning, beautiful woman. And it was just really, and she's got this little pocket mirror, and she's just looking at herself. You could just tell, her life from that minute forward was about to get real crazy. It was just great. So we witnessed lives and families, change right in front of our eyes. There's a third mission going down. It's leaving in a couple weeks, November 5th to Guatemala. Ed Cunliffe, Malcolm Malavia, Darlene Mitchell, Ali Hunnicky, and Caitlin Carey. Congratulations to you guys. I'm going to end with this. I'm going to end with a little Q&A that I had for some friends at Sidcor. I said, so how much money have we raised to date? We raised $494,000 so far. $494,000. What's the selection process for mission trips? Because again, I'm telling you, be a player, be a fundraiser. So the top 5 fundraisers get selected, or somebody, an administrator, somebody can go, but the top 5 fundraisers, 4 from the field and 1 from Sidcor. What does Sidcor endorse? Well, Sidcor is going to pay for your flights and your accommodations for the mission trip. What do we call the people that participate in these missions? Global humanitarians. I don't know if Barb came up with that word, but I'm like, global humanitarian. What are the perks for the global humanitarians? Well, the mission itself, obviously. There's glamorous charity events. Just look on Facebook and you'll see a bunch of people hanging out with some celebrities and stuff like that. And then the global humanitarians will have a chance to meet at several up-and-coming events. From my understanding, at the Keys to Success meeting in Dallas, the global humanitarians will have a chance to come in a little bit early and meet the founders of Operation Smile, Bill and Kathy, and get to do a little Q&A with these guys that have really gone on to change the world. So I want to thank Barb on behalf of all the global humanitarians. It was really your vision that you saw Sidcor and you saw Operation Smile as a great partnership, and you nailed it. Your vision was on point. This is a great thing for our business, and it's a great thing for the kids. Be a fundraising player. It'll be a life-changing experience for you guys. Thank you.